Howdy there, folk, and welcome to the Bayou. Alright, in all seriousness, I feel like I haven't talked to you guys since last year. Let's get into the second episode of Building the Bayou. In this episode, I'm mostly working on continuing to finish Bayou Falls, and I actually finished it at the end of this episode. Let's get into it. The first thing I wanted to add, because I just added Brer Rabbit in the last video. If you don't know who that is, there's Brer Rabbit, Brer Fox, and Brer Bear from Splash Mountain has now been replaced. It was actually one of my favorite rides that they had at Disney. Tiana's Bayou Adventure is still a really fun ride. I love the storyline and just how funny, I guess, Splash Mountain was. So I just decided to add some of those characters into the ride. This one I built Brer Fox, which is kind of like the main antagonist. You see as you're kind of climbing up the hill, he's inside this little cave holding the axe that he holds in some of the scenes on Splash Mountain. He was actually, I think, one of the best looking characters I built, even better than Brer Rabbit. It's definitely a lot better than Ray or Luis. And then I have some later that don't look as good too that you'll get to see. You'll have the pleasure of seeing, so that'll be exciting. Then the next section that I started working on was the swamp that Mama Odie's tree is gonna be in. So I kind of laid down the water, which is just, I guess, foil in this game because it kind of looks like water, because you can't put water at like different levels without. Anyway, it's kind of annoying the way that water works in this game. I also wanted to focus on first drop of when you get on the ride. So I made sure to add some rock work, and I added some like green spooky light, and I put something about like caution, abandoned mine, and that's kind of how you get into the bayou to begin. So a lot of this episode is kind of my favorite thing to do. I know in the last episode I said it gets monotonous landscaping, but when I'm shaping something using landscaping, it's a lot more fun for me. I started shaping the Bayou Falls mountain a little bit. I guess it's a salt mine if we're going off the Tiana's Bayou Adventure lore. Made sure to add some rock work, add more plants to kind of make it look like a living mountain, less of like a rocky mountain. Also, I did work on the first scene that you see. The concept, I guess, of Bayou Falls is that you're touring the bayou, and then you meet some like the characters that you know. So there's Tiana and Prince Naveen as frogs, Luis, Ray, Brer Rabbit, and then the first antagonist that you meet is Brer Fox. And then you're gonna meet Mama Odie, and then there's a surprise at the end that you'll get to see in a moment. But the first scene is actually you just meet some owls. I wanted to add something in that wasn't like too important to the story, because if you miss it, it's not too bad. I thought they looked pretty cool. I had to do some research of like what animals live in the bayou. Surprised me that there's actually a lot of animals. I was just thinking it's gators and fireflies, frogs, like the movie Princess and the Frog would make you think, but I guess there's more animals. Anyway, continued work on the little Mama Odie swamp area, which I wanted to recreate the tree that Mama Odie lives in. Basically, she lives in like a tree house, but it's not really a tree house. It's a boat house that's on top of the tree. I don't know how it happened. I assume that the lore is that there must have been some hurricane or something, and it blew the boat on top of the tree, and it's been stuck there ever since. I didn't really do a lot of research on why it looks like that, but it does look pretty cool. And then I also made sure to add the hanging bottles off the tree, which I assume that Mama Odie was a raging alcoholic at one point, and now she's a witch. And then I made sure to add like little, I guess like the evil ducks that this game has. They have little like regular ducks that look like rubber ducks that are yellow, that I have some of those in Fairy Tale Land Castle Plaza. But then I also added these evil ducks. Ooh. It's supposed to be like a little mix of like the briar patch in some spots in Mama Odie's swamp. Another part that I worked on was the part that you actually get to meet Mama Odie. I made the inside of Mama Odie's little boathouse. The Mama Odie that I built, she has a big heart. I mean, like I said, I'm working with spheres and blocks here, so trying to make a person is really hard, especially how we're like really in-depth 3D shapes. I mean, I'm working with blocks and spheres here. So I did the best I can do to make Mama Odie, and it's not like most of the people that visit my park even notice some of these details. Anyway, I'm probably gonna add Juju at some point. If you don't know who Juju is, that's her snake. I'll add that in someday, just right now, I'm not gonna add it in. As you guys can tell, this Bayou project has kind of stretched a lot longer than I had expected. If you didn't know, my initial plan was to have the Bayou Bayou open by late 2024, and I actually started working on the Bayou in August of 2024. Well, at the time of recording, it's actually February. We're looking at 6 months. This would make you think that this is the biggest project that I've ever done, but no. And a lot of it was because I was working non-stop from November to December. Finally just now have more time to record and build this stuff, and there was a little bit of a patch where I felt almost like abandoned the project because I felt like my passion for what I was building was gone. I'm finally getting back into it, especially once you guys see the 3rd episode, which I already am almost done with. I'm trying to record episodes 2 and 3 right now at the same time. Oh, surprise! My idea, hopefully by the time I post episode 3, I'm gonna be done with the entire Bayou expansion. There may possibly be an episode 4. I'm not quite sure. Anyway, back to the build. I also had to go through and fix up some of the mountains that are in the distance to create a nice sight lines. The main vantage point of the Bayou is going to be that bridge. I specifically built that bridge at an angle, and everything that is going to be visible from that bridge is going to be your photography kind of spots. Once I kind of finish Bayou Falls, it's going to have that beautiful flowery archway that the ride drops from. There's a great vantage point from there, and then in episode 3 you'll get to see how other aspects of New Orleans, part of the Bayou, which is actually going to be called French Quarter. Wow, surprise! Wow. A little spoiler of episode 3. Then the next section, so this is the big scary part before the drop, is I made Dr. Facilier's lair, inspired from the beginning of Princess and the Frog, when Prince Naveen and like the big dude, I forget his name, I'm sorry, meet him, and then that's where he, spoiler, turns Prince Naveen into a frog. I put the little shadow man, which I use images for, and then I use image panels also for the wallpaper to kind of make it look more spooky. I put a table with cards. Making Dr. Facilier was a lot of work too. I like that with some of the characters like Mama Odie and Dr. Facilier, they're kind of caricatures, so it's easier to recreate them in this game without making it look super realistic. The big part before the drop is actually going to be, I guess, the main big voodoo mask. If you haven't seen the movie, which I assume most of you have, kind of at the end, Dr. Facilier, because he fails, he's a charlatan or voodoo master, whatever you want to call him, and he made a deal with, to put it in Disney terms, some bad guys. Because he failed, they kind of drag him into the pits of the underworld. At the end of the ride, it's all like an illusion because you're actually making out, and surprise, you're alive. As you're going to the bridge, I wanted to make a riverboat. This one is specifically inspired by the Mark Twain riverboat that's at Disneyland. I know that Magic Kingdom has a Liberty Bell, but the Mark Twain looks a little bit better. Plus, it worked a little bit better with the scale that I was working with. This riverboat actually ended up being a lot smaller than I had anticipated it to look. There are limitations to this game when you're building on the edge. For the people who don't know, which is almost everyone watching this, in this game, if you are building on the edge, you cannot manipulate the size of things. Anyway, so I had to move it over a little bit closer to the bridge. Because of that, I didn't have as much space, but it's still, from the bridge, looks really good. I'm gonna have a little bit of like a secret on the next episode of how you can actually access the riverboat. The final scene for the Bayou Falls is kind of inspired by Splash Mountain. The end where you see the riverboat, everyone's like zippity doo dah, zippity yay. This version's a little bit different because I was able to put Luis in, and then a little photo of Tiana, and I wanted to add Prince Naveen and some other characters, which I may later, but with the assets that were available, none of them would fit or make sense in the space. So right now there's only like a few characters that are actually there. Essentially, the main ride is done. That's the wrap for the episode. I think it came out looking really nice. Even though the mountain's huge, like this is one of the biggest rides that I have made in a really long time. It takes up the footprint of maybe 2 of Galactic Rebellion, which was kind of a big ride, but I also fit it into into such a small space. Sometimes I surprise myself with how much I'm capable of doing with the amount of space that I'm working with, and still being able to make it look a lot bigger than it really is. That's kind of how I built Bayou Falls. It was really nice seeing you all, well, not really seeing you all, talking to you all again. If you're a huge architect or you just want to hear me yap, be sure to watch episode 3. Can't wait to see you guys. For those who are watching that have access to my park, once I'm finished, I'm throwing a big Mardi Gras party. Should have received an invitation. I'll see you then. Bye.